Preface. Ethereal Hollywood is a world reconfigured from the golden age of Hollywood, where the legendary stars are not just memories, but immortal archetypes, still living in their own parallel alternative reality. Familiar history is not duplicated but flexible and constantly revisioning itself along diverse pathways. Time and space are also more fluid and less binding. And what has been called magic works in odd and unusual ways, producing scenarios from the silly to the surreal. And since these stories are in an alternative world dimension, there are variances from real-world facts, such as the relationship between characters, studios, events. This is a fluid world where history flows in unexpected directions. These are audiobooks with imagery synced to the narrative as much as possible, serving as quasi-storyboards to give a rough visual dimension to the stories. Book 7 of the Ethereal Hollywood series. By Arnold Kalnitsky. The projector hummed softly, casting flickering images across the dusty screening room. Humphrey Bogart leaned forward, squinting at the grainy footage. "Kid, I've seen better lighting in a back alley after midnight." He gestured dismissively with his cigar. "Where's the shadow play? The moral ambiguity?" Outside, Frankie Avalon adjusted his collar under the blazing California sun. "Relax, Bogey. We've got surfboards, convertible chases, and Dick Dale ripping, Miserlou, live." He flashed a toothpaste commercial grin at Annette Funicello, who sighed while reapplying lipstick. "Frankie, darling, my beehive's wilting. Can't we shoot inside for once?" Sterling Hayden's booming laugh cut through the ocean breeze as he towered over a cluster of starlets. "Ambiguity. Kid, we're making a musical with machine guns." He slapped John Garfield's back hard enough to make him stumble. Garfield shot him a glare that could curdle milk. "Keep your mitts off the suit, Sterling. This gabardine cost more than your last divorce." Don Rickles sauntered up beside a nervous Donna Lauren, microphone in hand. "Look at this crowd. Bergman's plotting revenge. Mitchum's half asleep, and Avalon's hair defies gravity. It's like a crime scene waiting to happen." He ducked as Rita Hayworth playfully tossed a script at his head. "Quiet, you. Some of us are trying to remember if this script calls for dancing or a nervous breakdown." Dick Dale twanged a dissonant chord on his Stratocaster, making Orson Welles wince. "Gentlemen, ladies, compromise." Welles' voice rolled like thunder. "We'll film the car chase through the Noir alleyway. Avalon sings while dodging bullets. Funicello tap dances on quicksand. And Bogart," he paused dramatically, "gets sand in his trench coat." Barbara Stanwyck arched an eyebrow at Jane Greer. "Darlings, I haven't been this confused since my third husband's trial." Suddenly, a wave crashed over the set, soaking Alan Ladd completely. Leslie Gore sighed, shaking seawater from her sequined dress. "It is my party." Alan Ladd stood dripping, his usually immaculate suit clinging like wet tissue. Veronica Lake offered a silk handkerchief with a wry smile. "Don't sulk, Alan. Waterlogged suits are very existential." He wrung out his tie, muttering about saltwater ruining the line of his shoulder pad. Dick Dale unleashed another torrent of tremolo. The Hundells winced as Orson Welles bellowed over the din, "The wave stays. Improvise. Avalon, surf that swell while singing Dee Dee Dinah, backwards. Funicello, your beehive makes a perfect flotation device." Annette touched her towering hair protectively. "Mr. Welles, I draw the line at drowning for art." Sterling Hayden hoisted a dripping John Garfield onto a surfboard. "Quicksand, tap dancing, machine gun musical numbers. Kid, this picture's got more identity crises than I've got ex-wives." Garfield shoved him off balance. "Just keep your paws off my." The board flipped, sending them both into the foaming shallows. Donna Lauren giggled until Rickles materialized behind her. "Laugh it up, sweetheart. Next scene calls for you to romance Bogart, while balancing a pineapple on your head." Humphrey Bogart watched the chaos from a miraculously dry deck chair, trench coat collar upturned. He took a slow drag on his cigarette. Kid, I once interrogated a man in a monsoon. This. He gestured at Avalon attempting a handstand on a floating guitar case. Makes me nostalgic for gunfire. Rita Hayworth settled beside him, adjusting a sodden shawl. Relax, Bogey. At least Welles hasn't suggested singing into a mirror maze, yet. Orson Welles bellowed through a megaphone made from a conch shell. Genius births itself from chaos. McRae, strap that camera to a seagull. Stanwyck, deliver your monologue in the water. Barbara Stanwyck didn't look up from reapplying her mascara. Orson, darling, my contract says, femme fatale, not catfish. A rogue wave drenched the megaphone, silencing Welles with a sputter. Leslie Gore smoothed her ruined sequins, watching Alan Ladd wring seawater from his sleeves. Her voice cut through the salty air, clear and cool. You think you're miserable? She nodded toward Jean Tierney, meticulously rearranging sand-soaked orchids in her hair. My party's ruined, and nobody even cried. Ladd offered a rare, crooked smile. Kid, in this circus, the tears are just waiting for their cue. Dick Dale launched into a furious rendition of Let's Go Trippin', as Sterling Hayden hauled a sputtering John Garfield from the surf. Garfield shoved him away, snarling, touch me again, Hayden, and I'll show you a real noir ending. Hayden just roared with laughter, shaking seawater from his beard like a soaked St. Bernard. Lighten up, pal. Think of the quicksand scene as character building. Nearby, Jody McRae fumbled with a camera lashed precariously to a surfboard, muttering about saltwater corrosion. McRae struggled to film amid the chaos. Orson Welles, dripping conch shell megaphone forgotten, loomed over a hastily sketched storyboard in the wet sand. His finger jabbed at a crude drawing of Avalon surfing past a shadowy alley. The wave wasn't disaster, it was destiny. Avalon catches the curl. Bogart emerges from that crumbling pier shack. Avalon tosses him the microfilm inside his surf wax. Bogart took a slow drag, ash flicking into the foam. Kid, I deliver lines. Not novelty toiletries. Annette Funicello sighed, patting her damp beehive. Can't the microfilm be in a waterproof beach ball? Don Rickles slithered through the soggy chaos, microphone aimed like a weapon. Look at this. Stanwyck's mascara's running faster than Garfield's patience. Mitchum's asleep standing up, talent or narcolepsy. And Welles. He ducked as Welles hurled a soggy script. Just auditioned for Moby Dick. Veronica Lake's silky voice cut through the laughter. Don, darling, if you don't hush, I'll have Bogey show you how he handles loudmouths in alleyways. Bogart just grunted, eyes narrowed against the sun. Make it a dark alley, sister. This light's murder. A wave of sound that made the pyramids clutch their ears. John Ashley wiped salt spray from his eyes, shouting over the din. The tide's coming in faster. My convertible's half submerged. Donna Lauren squealed as seawater lapped at her heels. My new pumps are ruined. Sterling Hayden scooped her onto his shoulders like a damp sack of flour. Relax, doll. Think of it as aquatic method acting. Garfield scowled, wringing out his suit jacket. Some of us prefer staying dry while we emote. Orson Welles stomped through the shallows, sand clinging to his soaked trousers. He jabbed a finger at the crumbling pier. The wave was a sign. We merge genres here. Avalon, you ride in on that breaker, belting, beach party tonight. Bogart, you're waiting under the pilings, trench coat dripping, with a .38 and a snarl. Bogart blew a smoke ring toward the seagulls. Kid, I don't snarl on cue. I glower. Subtle difference. Rita Hayworth chuckled, twisting her wet hair into a knot. Just point him at Rickles, Orson. The glower'll come naturally. Suddenly, a rogue wave surged, knocking the camera rig sideways. Jody McRae lunged, grabbing it just before the Pacific claimed it. Saltwater sloshed over Leslie Gore's sequins again. She sighed, watching Alan Ladd futilely shield his suit with a soggy script. "It is my party," she murmured, voice flat. Jean Tierney plucked a ruined orchid from her hair, tossing it into the foam. "Cry, darling, I'm considering drowning myself. It's more dignified." Ladd offered his damp handkerchief. "Save the dramatics for the close-up, kid." Sterling Hayden hauled John Garfield from the surf again, laughing as Garfield spat seawater. "Quit bellyaching. That wave's our co-star now." Garfield shoved him, eyes blazing. "One more dunk, Sterling, and I'll give you a third act twist you won't survive." Nearby, Dick Dale shredded his guitar while the Hundells winced at the feedback. Orson Welles bellowed through his conch, sand in his beard. "Genius. Avalon, surf toward Bogart's alley. Toss him the microfilm tape to your board." Frankie flashed a grin, wobbling on his surfboard. "Can I sing, Beach Party, while dodging bullets?" Bogart didn't look up from his cigar. "Kid, sing off-key. I'll shoot you on principle." Donna Lauren shrieked as seawater soaked her pumps. Don Rickles marched in, mic poised. "Look at Donna. She's auditioning for Creature from the Black Lagoon." Veronica Lake's cool voice cut through. "Don, darling, if Bogey doesn't silence you, I will." She tilted her head, blonde peekaboo hair clinging to her cheek. Bogart grunted, adjusting his trench coat collar. "Make it quick, sister. This sun's frying my brain." Barbara Stanwyck arched an eyebrow, reapplying lipstick on a dry patch of sand. "Orson, if I deliver my monologue in the water, I want hazard pay, and a diving bell." The tide surged higher, swallowing John Ashley's convertible up to the windshield. Harvey Lembeck, leather jacket stained by brine, clung to the antenna, shouting, "My script's dissolving." Annette Funicello patted her sagging beehive, watching Avalon attempt a handstand on his board. "Frankie, darling," she called sweetly, "if you fall, try not to land on Mr. Wells." Orson glared, conch dripping. "Nonsense. Avalon's stunt doubles exist for." While larger wave crashed, submerging him mid-sentence. Dick Dale hit a final, dissonant chord. Silence fell, broken only by Wells' sputtering seawater and Bogart's dry chuckle. "Kid, remind me why I left Casablanca." Sterling Hayden hauled Garfield onto a surfboard again. "Quit scowling, Johnny. Think of the publicity." Garfield battles Poseidon. Garfield shoved him off, snarling, "Touch me again, and I'll ensure your next divorce is front-page news." Nearby, Leslie Gore watched Alan Ladd wringing out his sleeves. "It is my party," she murmured. And added wistfully, "What a birthday surprise." Jean Tierney plucked a ruined orchid from her hair. Don Rickles slithered toward Rita Hayworth, mic poised. "Look at Bergman, plotting her next close-up like Napoleon." Ingrid Bergman didn't flinch, her gaze fixed on the crumbling pier. "Orson," she said softly, "the pilings won't hold your weight." Wells waved her off, sketching wildly in the wet sand. "Nonsense. Structural integrity is overrated." Suddenly, a groan echoed from the pier, wood splintering, nails screeching. Bogart sighed, flicking cigarette ash into the foam. "Told ya, kid." Barbara Stanwyck rose, shaking sand from her dress. "Enough." Her voice cut through the chaos like a knife. "Wells, if you want water monologues, hire Esther Williams. I'm delivering mine dry, or not at all." She strode toward the dunes, Jane Greer trailing with a smirk. "Coming, Gloria." Gloria Graham shrugged, lighting a cigarette. "Darling, I've drowned before. It's tedious." The Hundells struck a tentative chord as the pier shuddered again. Avalon wobbled, microfilm wax clutched in his fist. "Ready, Bogey." Bogart adjusted his trench coat. "Kid, just throw the damn thing." Sterling Hayden scooped Garfield onto his shoulders like a damp sack of potatoes. Hold tight, Johnny. We're your chariot. Garfield's fingers gripped his collar. Release me, you lunatic, or I swear. A colossal wave surged, lifting Avalon's board skyward. He soared past the splintering pier, microfilm glinting as he hurled it. Bogart lunged, snatching it mid-air just as the pilings groaned and collapsed in a spray of salt and timber. Rita Hayworth screamed, a sound swallowed by Dick Dale's shredding guitar. Orson Welles bellowed triumphantly from waist-deep water, conch raised. Perfection.